Hello, and welcome to Emergency Special Needs Planning in the time of coronavirus. This is a presentation on the most important planning steps that you need to take care of for yourself today, for your family, and for your loved ones with disabilities during these pandemic times.
Welcome. My name is Richard Lafredo. I'm a financial advisor with 35 years of experience. I am dedicating my financial planning practice to the financial issues facing the special needs community. This happened as a result of advising my elderly aunt and uncle about their middle-aged son, who as a disabled adult needed to have a life plan.
And hello, I'm Zeke Zimmerman. I'm also a special needs planner, and I'm a special needs parent myself. I have two sons on the autism spectrum. I'm also a former New York City math teacher, so the planning concepts that I present are always from the point of view of an educator who wants to share important knowledge, and also from the point of view of someone who has had to and still is going through all of this themselves. So first of all, it's important not to forget that we're still experiencing a global health crisis right now that is truly a once-in-a-lifetime type of situation. And even though many people have received their vaccines, and some of our kids and loved ones are back in school or back in their programs, there has still been and continues to be a huge disruption to life for all of us, and especially so for individuals with disabilities and their families. So take a look at the questions on the screen right now and see if you think any of these are concerns that are keeping you up at night the same way they are for so many people in our community. I know personally that my family is super overwhelmed with all the homeschooling and distance learning and the extra layers of challenges around navigating when you have a child who's differently wired like mine are. And on top of that, there's all the therapies that they were supposed to receive that now they're receiving through Zoom, but it's not the same, and the disruption to the routines. And we have a really dysregulated household in a lot of ways. For a lot of families, there's also a lack of work or lost hours or the juggling of having to work from home while homeschooling. And so there might be a loss of income while at the same time, all of our bills and all of our financial obligations are still coming and piling up. And so there are money concerns for many families. And of course, during this pandemic, it's making us all think about our own mortality and how fragile life can be. So concerns about what would happen to us and our loved ones if anything happened to us is at the forefront of our minds. And it's natural to worry about who would carry on if the worst ever came to happen.
Yeah, what we hear from our clients and what we hear from families that they refer us to is something that is very common. It's the number one common issue that we hear. And it is, I am worried about what would happen to my child or children and who would care for them if anything were to happen to me. That's an understandable concern, even during these normal times. And that is something that we're going to be looking to address the issues that you can focus on to resolve that issue through planning from the safety of your home. You can be in control of protecting yourself and your loved ones today and in the future. What are the necessary legal authorities and financial resources for your entire family that you would need today and tomorrow? We could help you address those issues, and that begins with questions that you might be asking yourself, or clearly questions that we bring to the table when we speak to our clients. Questions are as follows. Have you taken the steps to allow someone else to make important legal and financial decisions for your family if something were to ever happen to you? And have you thought about the kind of care and the support that your loved ones will need? And have you created a detailed plan that anyone else could follow to provide that care?
On top of that, it's really important to think about if and how we've named beneficiaries for pretty much everything that we own. First of all, we're talking about retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks, and also, of course, life insurance policies, things that have named beneficiaries. But also, we're talking about all of our regular bank accounts, our checkings and savings accounts, our homes if we own a home, our investment accounts, college savings accounts, everything that's in our name right now. Who will it pass to when we're not here? Because if it's possible that any of that can transfer to a loved one with a disability, then we're running the risk of them losing some very important means-tested benefits and services like supplemental security income, SSI, and Medicaid, or losing their eligibility for those programs in the future. We'll be talking more about that throughout this presentation today. And lastly, number 4, being in control means knowing that we have enough life insurance, not only to keep our family afloat and in our homes and in our schools for the near term, but also enough life insurance to fully fund a special needs trust that will provide the supplemental support that will be so necessary to ensure that our loved ones have a stable, meaningful, and enriched lifestyle when they're adults, when they're middle-aged, and when they're eventually seniors themselves. Because remember, we're planning for 2 lifetimes here. Hopefully a long, long lifetime for ourselves, but also a long lifetime for our special needs children and loved ones, regardless of their disability. And if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that life is not free. It costs money, and life insurance is there to provide the care dollars in the future to make sure everything we want to have happen is still possible to happen. So Rich, what happens when we do not have a plan?
Well, there's clearly consequences for our loved ones who do not have a plan. As an example, the law of intestacy. What that means is that if you do not craft or draft your own will, the state that you live in will have one for you. What that it could also mean is that your wishes might not be fulfilled. The distribution of your estate, assets, and valuables that you want to go to a particular person, they could go someplace else. Or if you have a special needs disabled child, if they go to him or her directly, that could eliminate governmental benefits from you or the loss of even getting governmental benefits. So it's important that the planning get done.
And that loss of eligibility is super important because all it can take is just $2,000. And we know that $2,000 in today's terms is so little amount of money. But all it takes is $2,000 for an individual to be deemed ineligible for Medicaid and supplemental security income. And this is the main number 1 problem, crisis concern that we want to avoid with all of this planning. Because think about everything that Social Security and Medicaid provide for so many individuals. It provides income for housing and food. Medicaid covers self-direction, housing, residence care, respite care, day habilitation, community habilitation, transportation, education, therapy, obviously medical care, so much more. And the value of all those programs can really be in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or millions of dollars over the lifetime of an individual. And even if your loved one is not using those services right now, maybe because they're young and they're in school, they're not in the world of adult services, the last thing we want to do is to close the door on them ever being able to enjoy those benefits in the future when they may be so necessary and helpful. And if your loved one is already receiving any of that, it can mean an immediate loss of many of the services they rely on, and an extremely difficult and challenging and time-consuming process to get those benefits and services reinstated, especially if the people trying to reinstate those services don't have the proper legal authority to do so at that time. And again, this is really the number 1 goal of our planning, to ensure that our loved ones can have access to as much of those critical supports and services as they can, because every dollar provided by the local and state and federal government is one less dollar that we have to provide ourselves for their care. And that allows us to put our money to better use in other ways, to provide for additional supports and activities and benefits that will enrich the lives beyond the bare minimum that the government can provide.
What happens if we don't have a plan? Well, doing nothing and hoping for the best is not a plan. The good news is that it is never too late to start planning for your family's future. We can help. Your family can be prepared. We have developed a process to help that has been proven to provide valuable resources to many families over the years. Our experience and knowledge make special needs planning for you easy, simple, and less scary. You will get a sense of that when you use your 30-minute consultation. You may reserve your consultation directly by contacting us at any time or by completing the survey at the end of the presentation. Your family can be prepared.
So throughout this presentation, we'll be referring to something that we call our blueprint for emergency special needs planning, or simply the blueprint. This is a handout that's available from us on request by completing the survey that Rich mentioned that we'll link to at the end of this presentation, or by going to the special needs resources page of our website. And what this blueprint document does is that it provides a step-by-step framework for tackling the 4 most important planning concerns that you see here on this page. It sounds complicated, but we will make it simple and break it down for you into meaningful action steps that you can realistically take one step at a time from the comfort and safety and security of your own home. So the first step in the blueprint for emergency special needs planning is what's called the letter of intent. Now, what is a letter of intent? A letter of intent is not a legal document, but it's kind of like a care manual or an instruction guide for the future care of a loved one with a disability. And it's going to communicate vision and wishes for the well-being of that individual. It's also going to communicate very practical information, numbers of therapists or numbers of programs or care or support providers and coordinators, medical information, prescriptions, everything down to their shoe size. And the reason why that's so important is because as special needs caregivers and parents, we have so much information in our heads right now, but if anything ever happened to us, how would we ever pass that information on to anybody else? The answer is the letter of intent. If we don't put this information in writing, nobody will know what we want or how to provide it. And just as our children and loved ones are growing and changing over the time from year to year, they don't stay the same, the letter of intent has to grow and change too. It's a living document. So as our loved ones change, they move from pediatric care to adult medical care, they change different programs and support coordinators, their shoes grow and their preferences grow or their food tastes, whatever it is, all the important information that we want to convey, that letter of intent has to get updated every couple of years too to reflect that. Here we see an image of what the letter of intent looks like. This is a downloadable, fillable PDF that again is available for anyone on request by completing the survey at the end of this presentation or by going to the special needs resources page on our website. And here's a snapshot of what the letter of intent action steps look like on our blueprint. And our process is to give you step-by-step flow that you can complete and know that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that you can take those steps and check them off as you do them and know when and where you are in that process.
The second and crucial strategy when it comes to emergency special needs planning is naming beneficiary designations. Beneficiary designations are on assets and accounts. So it is important that no asset should ever transfer directly to an individual with a disability. I want to emphasize this point. It is important, crucial, that no asset should ever transfer directly to an individual with a disability. Therefore, we need to take action to ensure that their names do not appear as beneficiaries in any accounts. And we see all the time that families automatically name their loved ones, and typically it can be, and it is, their disabled child. That is something that we have to consider and avoid. There are steps we can take to change the beneficiaries and the titles of accounts, and that those assets would transfer directly to a different named beneficiary or a trust. That's to be done so that the issue of disqualification is not taking place. Also, we want to make sure that if you have family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends who are looking to put dollars away for their special needs loved one, your child, we want to make sure that they're aware that doing it the right way would benefit and doing it the wrong way could work against you as far as benefits go. So it's a matter of changing titles, and what we'll do with the blueprint is really give you an understanding of how that works. Here's the blueprint for beneficiary designations. You see that it follows the same format. Small steps to take. Take those steps, take action, and have a result. You'll see that the beneficiaries there typical on life insurance, retirement plans, things that you are familiar with and decisions that you have already made. So you want to make sure that you're making sure that the beneficiaries are up to date and correct, and that you're assigning a time to get this task done, and you follow a process that makes it easy, simple, and clear as to why you're doing and changing the beneficiaries.
The next step in the process of emergency special needs planning has to do with life insurance. And nobody likes to talk about or think about life insurance until they need it. But the reality is that this is one of the most important financial tools that a family, a parent, or a caregiver can have. Nothing can ever replace the value of a human being. But if anything should ever happen to one of us, it is life insurance that provides the money that allows everyone else to be able to carry on financially, to stay in the same home, for the kids to stay in the same schools, to know that all of our needs will be met, even that all of our future care needs can be met. And so it's really, really important to have life insurance right now.
Yeah, one of the questions that we automatically ask is what kind of life insurance do you have at work and who's the beneficiary? We also ask what is the amount? Are you eligible for more? Might you not have enough? You need to explore what the amount is and how that correct amount or a correct amount can be determined. You have to be thinking about the types of insurance, life insurance in particular, that's out there. What are the products? How do they work? What are the details? And this is something that we could help you with.
And right now, the insurance companies are making it easier than ever for people to go through the process of getting life insurance. They know that many people still don't want to go and meet with medical professionals face to face. And so the life insurance companies are foregoing some of the traditional application and underwriting steps, including face to face medical exams. So now the entire application, the entire process can be done online and electronically now for many life insurance companies from the safety and comfort and security of your own home.
Yeah, and this is something that you could do on your own. If you feel that this is not going to bog you down and you could handle that, by all means, please do. We do offer, though, a guidance through this process. We're experienced in understanding how these policies work, and we could guide you with proper information and a strategy to move forward. As far as your current life insurance, maybe you owned policies individually. Here's some of the questions that we ask. Is the amount that you have appropriate? Is it possible that your spouse who has no life insurance maybe should have starting a conversation about obtaining life insurance? The amount of insurance that you have, is that increasing or decreasing? As far as the cost, is it a level cost? Is it an increasing cost? If it's a term policy, you need to be aware that term policies expire. They could be a 10, 20, or 30-year term policy. After that time comes, you no longer may have life insurance. We're really surprised that many people are just not aware of that, and they should be. As far as the death benefit or the care dollars, is it guaranteed or is it projected? And if you have a cash value building policy, is that policy sustainable with the cash within the policy? Also, searching the marketplace, is it possible to replace your insurance that you have now with lower cost life insurance? A way of doing that is to get an in-force ledger from your existing company. And that would be typically requested annually, and you'll be able to see the workings of the policy and get a clearer understanding of what's taking place now and will take place in the future. Here's the blueprint again. We follow the same format. We wanted to make it focused and easy. What are the steps that I need to take in this area to get knowledge about, as an example, the amount of life insurance that I have through work? What are the action steps? When will that be completed? And what will the result be? So it's steps, actions, and results. Step 4 is the legal guidance. Now, as far as legal planning, what do you need? What is foundational? And this is, of course, foundational information for special needs families as well as other families. Everybody should be thinking about the package that an attorney would provide, and these are the ingredients of that package. A will. You see that if you do not provide your own will and dictate the terms of what you want to happen to your estate, a will be provided for you by the state that you reside in. Powers of attorney. That gives you the authority to have someone act on your behalf if you're not capable, as an example, of making financial decisions. And then, of course, the healthcare proxies. That comes at a time where you are not in a position of making your own decisions about the type of care you want to get at a later stage of life. You want to give the authority to people based on what you would want to happen and not them have to guess and go through that trauma of what you would want as far as end of life type of care. And then, of course, there's the trust. Particularly, Zeke will focus on the special needs trusts that are paramount to our special needs families. Point of interest and point that is crucial. You must work and you have to work with a special needs attorney who really understands the working of special needs trust. That would be very beneficial and very helpful to you. Zeke,
So a
why
special
don't you
needs
explain? Yeah,
trust
yeah.
does a lot of things. It's a really important document. And for many of us as special needs parents, if we've ever gone and searched online for special needs planning, a special needs trust may be one of the first things that we see or one of the first recommendations. So it's really important to understand what this tool is and where it fits in the range of what planning should be done. Unlike the letter of intent, the special needs trust is a legal document. So it's, like Rich said, something that is created, drafted, and executed by an attorney who specializes in special needs trust and estates.
Mhm.
The special needs trust is going to create the stipulations for providing ongoing care for an individual with a disability if the caregivers are not there, or a means for providing resources for that individual. The most important part, like we've been saying, is that it protects that individual's assets and thus their eligibility for those government benefits, the SSI and the Medicaid we've been speaking about. The money that's in the trust can be used to supplement those benefits and provide for additional benefits, additional care, and additional support, which is what we think of when we mean enriching that person's life, really making it robust and meaningful and adding all the things that we would want them to have ideally in their world. Now, three really important features of the trust is that the money in the trust is protected from the beneficiary, so they can't spend it down too fast or too frivolously. The money in the trust is protected from creditors, so the individual can't get themselves in debt or other financial difficulties and lose all the money that they need to live on. And the money in the trust is protected from predators, meaning that nobody out there can take advantage of our loved ones, because we know that unfortunately too often our loved ones are a little too trusting, and there are people out there who are too unscrupulous and would do that to them. Now, because this is a trust, we need to think about trustees, people who will help manage the money and the disbursements to the beneficiary. Often that's the same as the guardian, but not necessarily. It can be separate guardians and separate trustees. These are important conversations to have. Now, what can a special needs trust pay for? It can pay for a lot. The things on the list here are just a sample of some of the possible things. It can own a house. It can own a car. It can pay for supplemental medical care and transportation, things that are rehabilitative and therapeutic and educational in nature, entertainment, which can be tickets or shows or internet, home health aides, other assistants, a driver, trips and vacations, all kinds of computers and technology and assistive communications devices and adaptations in the home or for the vehicle, so much. A special needs trust works really well hand in hand with an ABLE account, which is another tool that we'll talk about in another presentation, but that's something that can pay for example, rent and food, whereas a trust can't. When a trust pays for rent and food, that's called in-kind support maintenance payments, and doing so can reduce the amount of SSI benefit that an individual can get. So we have to be very conscious and purposeful in how we use the trust and what we use it for. And as we've said before, the assets that are held in the trust, when that trust is designed properly, those assets will not disqualify that person from receiving the benefits. And that's the number one goal of this kind of planning.
Mm-hmm.
Here you'll see the action steps for taking care of your legal planning to seek and obtain the guidance that you need, from the first step towards checking off that your planning is all complete. So this here shows you now we've run the full range of the 4 most important planning steps. In conclusion, we hope that you've enjoyed this presentation and that you've gotten some really valuable information out of it that you can think about starting to take action on. This is, again, a reminder about our blueprint. The blueprint is available on request through our survey that we'll be showing you in just a moment, and by going to the special needs resource page on our website. Reminder to take care of these 4 most important planning steps first. This is not the be-all, end-all of special needs planning, but these are the 4 most important planning steps. If you have taken care of these 4 steps, you know that at least you have a tight plan where the disasters can be avoided. And that's really one of our main goals. As a special thank you for attending today's webinar, Rich and I would like to offer you a complimentary 30-minute consultation with us to answer questions, discuss your individual situation and your objectives, and provide you with more resources and information. So we're going to show that survey in just a moment. It's at the bottom of the page here. And when you fill out that survey, if you enter the code START PLANNING, you'll be able to get that 30-minute complimentary consultation with Rich and myself. Here's our contact information. Again, that survey is up at the top. It's http://bit.ly/emergency special mission. So please go on and fill that out. Your feedback is very important to us. We want to know what you think and how you enjoyed our presentation. Please reach out to us at the phone numbers and email addresses below, and by going and visiting our website, www.thetimetopplanisnow.com, and please like and follow us on Facebook as well at The Time to Plan Is Now. Again, Rich and I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation, you got some really valuable information out of it, and we look forward to being in touch with you again soon. Thank you very much.
The slide.